tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of stuff going on today, a lot of ways to interact, see the show, and participate if you so choose to do so. But there's a lot more that we make available for you. So if you're tuned in with us, particularly if you're all driving, I don't want to see you commenting unless you're firmly co-captain in the passenger seat status there. But otherwise, of course, I mean, we'll be talking about all the things as much as we can cram into, plus also your all's comments and calls a little bit later. Comments like Ida Vasa Gardner with the high and the wave. Appreciate that over there on the Facebook. I mean, that throughout as we do interject, of course, and of course those likes and reacts we always appreciate. James Holmes, Ida Beza Gardner, Angel Ruedo also chiming in with the rock on you as well, certainly. And yeah, a lot of interesting updates coming out from immigration and border security issues, particularly the enforcement side of that in our region today. Some local reporting, including fake vans. That's the best way I can put it here. And why that, it's a level of sophistication that is interesting to see, as we also have Amanda Mancanda with the yo to you as well, and Flaco Jimenez with the Bitmoji. I think that's what it is that you're doing, which is still appreciated. Just doesn't, I can't pop it up on screen, but still appreciate you commenting and adding your 2 cents, as you often then do with further comments there. Yeah, saying hi, as I do see it on my other screen. Also, Amber Banda with the rock on, already technically the devil's horns, or is it protection from the evil eye, depending on who you ask. Yeah, I take it either way. Anyway, a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, immigration, border security, fake vans, house investigations, kind of related, but definitely on to the roads with no more paper tags in Texas, and new processing facilities in our area with also some novel busts going on. So a lot going on in this area, and right at home when it comes to that. Austin Redfern saying who Tulsi Gabbard. Not sure where that one's coming from, but anyway, a lot of comments coming in that we'll certainly be talking about, as well as that check-in on the State House that we kind of didn't quite get to yesterday. Compromise seeming near, even if also carrot and stick time. It does kind of feel like when it comes to the impasse between the houses of the Texas legislature on how to come down to the agreed upon goal of property tax relief, changing the formula, or just making it so that people have less to pay, or less of their formula, less of their part of it goes into the formula, I should say. But also vetoes getting threatened, and setting the tone for the upcoming special sessions, because we knew there were going to be some, and we're not getting out of this in Texas, getting closer to that whole potential of there being just another year of the legislature. Only way I can think to put it at this time here. So a lot going on, a lot we'll talk about, a lot affecting us here in the Borderland. So if you're tuned in, chiming in, or how again you want to participate in this, you're certainly in the right place, as we do this every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. So just Border Patrol announcing, I mean, the best way I can put it, article title from our news partners at KFOX 14, Border Patrol fake FedEx vans used to smuggle migrants in El Paso. Specifically this reporting from our news partners at KFOX 14, but also getting that release. Vans made to look like real FedEx vehicles used to smuggle migrants in El Paso, Texas. Friday, as of last Friday, U.S. Customs and Border Protection confirmed as of today, specifically, that this came out of the Santa Rosa station, their anti-smuggling unit. So right nearby, of course, right across the Texas and New Mexico state line. Highway 9, if I'm not mistaken, but in any case, also working with the Texas Department of Public Safety, investigate 3 vehicles suspected of smuggling migrants in West El Paso. And so that's, they said they received credible information regarding suspected smuggling scheme involving fake FedEx vehicles. And if you go and look at the story there, the vans are, it's not like someone spray painted on the side saying like FedEx or like with misspelling, like it's the logo. It is even got, the secret arrow in it. If you ever looked at the FedEx logo, it's got an arrow that is in between the E and the X in the blank space, which is always, one of those little clever children kind of moments. But yeah, it's a level of sophistication. I mean, you got to give credit where it's due at a certain point to get decent enough printing, and also getting around what has been, maybe not here exactly. Not done a lot of conversations with any of those that I've had, those that are getting arrested for human smuggling, as it at least I believe 4 people in this incident. But it would also say it seems to get around the okay with the rabbiting, or the ditching, I think is the way it's been more officially referred to, but I refer to it as rabbiting because the situation seems to be that there are passenger vehicles, SUVs, more than like two-door coupes for sure, but picking up people at various points all across the region and on ways to try to circumvent any interaction with authorities. And as authorities then present themselves, drivers of these vehicles seem to then just floor it and end up either crashing into a ditch, building, or other people. Hopefully not the latter, but it's also, of course, among other things, led to there being questions about the policies and procedures, particularly on the federal official side, any of the Department of Homeland Security agencies that have been doing this, though there have also been some other questions coming from the DPS enforcement, of course, Texas state troopers we've been seeing in our area, though less nationally on that. Like, I don't know if the ACLU has put similar types of filings on that particular issue, but it gets around a part of that because the thing about the passenger vehicles is, of course, they don't have huge capacity. I mean, yes, they have sort of like some vans as a part of it, but I mean, we're talking SUVs. We're talking not something that you can quickly clown car anyway. I mean, I'm sure if you had enough time, you've seen some of those experiments back in college of people like, trying to see how many people they can get into like a Volkswagen Beetle. What was that back in the day? I remember seeing videos of that growing up. So, like, sure, you could fit a lot of people in there, but like quickly, not so much. So the idea of using these, I mean, extended vans, these would be closer to like the cargo version of, these multiple dozen passenger vans. So getting around that, and also the whole, windowless nature of it. I mean, there's a level of cleverness that you have to, at the very least, be like, okay, some thought went into this, at the very least, even if it's not totally appreciated. Even have like the, again, from the pictures from our news partners at KFOX 14, even those, what is it, the hazardous material indication signs on the side of it. So a lot of smacking of it, but then pulled over. This happened on Upper Valley Road near Artcraft. Border Patrol confirmed, again, going on last Friday, June 9th, specifically. And so in this case, 4 smugglers, 2 from the U.S. and 2 from Mexico, charged with the smuggling scheme. And in this case, all of the smuggled migrants were from Guatemala and Mexico, were in good health and were processed accordingly. So Border Patrol, in their release, said this, quote, El Paso sector Border Patrol agents continue to successfully disrupt smuggling schemes and the illegal operations of the transnational criminal organizations. Quote, attributed to El Paso sector Chief Patrol Agent Anthony Scott Good. Quote, I am grateful for our law enforcement partnerships at the state, local, and federal levels. This alliance is successfully disrupting dangerous criminal organizations, their leadership, and their human smuggling schemes. Among the pictures there also as well, the amount of, just showing all of the result of that enforcement on this particular scheme. And it's been noted so far for the month of June that they've averaged about 435 daily migrant encounters, and there are it's borne out pretty well by the numbers that you can see over at elpasotexas.gov/migrant-crisis, the Migrant Situational Awareness Dashboard. So far as of the most recent 7-day rolling average, about 545. So, I mean, yeah, the numbers are still down from where they were as we were getting right up to the end of Title 42. But again, it would be a mistake to think that just because that policy elapsed, that it is therefore nothing more coming from this. I mean, the Biden administration putting forth their reduction numbers and kind of touting that as part of a change in the policy, but it's certainly not over. I mean, I think the last I saw from them was 70%, again, coming from the White House on that aspect of it. So it's not done, as we also have other comments coming in. Flacco Meta saying FedEx Express trucks are all independent contractors, so one can easily be painted to appear legitimate. Yeah, interesting. Didn't know that wrinkle as a part of this. I mean, I certainly have seen mostly on the Amazon side of things, them not implicated in this, but like hiring independent contractors, even wanting to use not even like business vehicles, but like personal vehicles for part of it. So I guess that's not surprising if maybe, frankly, an aspect of this here. Also, Ano Rueda saying, I've been on Loop 375 in a while. There's a bunch of new lights south of the fence between the water plant and Escalante Park. I mean, there's definitely been a lot of, maybe not totally infrastructure, but of structure overall, either temporary barriers. So I guess that's not surprising to me. Not, I haven't been to Escalante in a minute myself, probably a few months at least. So that's an interesting update. So thanks for sharing that as well. And some other notes coming in, including an extended one from Tim Collins that I'm not going to be able to put up on screen here. Also, then Bernadette Bandagol chiming in as present for the show. Thanks for being locked in with us as well as we continue to talk about all the things affecting us here in the Borderland. So that's one interesting thing going on our roadways, even if there are other updates. Another one, regardless of international criminal syndicates involved in these kind of things, an issue that's definitely been going on the roadways, not even just in El Paso, though we certainly noticed it here, but statewide, those paper temporary plates that may or may not be legitimate, anything that you can just print out and slap on a vehicle. I do have certain questions and concerns about, but new law being signed here into Texas, taking aim at that very specifically, though it makes you kind of also wonder, well, not to tease it too much, but if the solution is basically so why not just issue new plates? Anyway, also a lot more going on with immigration and border security in our region. So we'll talk more about that and a whole lot more. Taking that first break of this hour right now. You are tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot more to get to, a lot more discussion, and a lot more time we got getting into, again, the 2 hours of the show today. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A big crash on the I-10 eastbound before Executive Center Boulevard is slowing traffic. Multiple lanes blocked. Traffic's merging to the right. Look for 45-minute delays back to Trans Mountain. Police and medical at the scene of an injury accident northbound Dyer at McCombs, and traffic slow on Montana Avenue 2. The left lane is closed eastbound Montana at Geronimo, and it's 12-minute delays out to Zaragoza. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's is partnering with HDTV for the second season of Build It Forward, giving back to the community they serve. Inspired by Lowe's Hometowns program, hosts Tania Nayaka and Shane Duffy are traveling to surprise community heroes with life-changing renovations. Watch Build It Forward all new Saturdays at 6, 5 Central.
Paid for by government.com. Can you believe it? A huge hoard of 2018 American Eagle silver dollar coins were confiscated when the FBI busted an international fraud ring that stretched from South Dakota to Norway. It sounds like a Hollywood movie, but it's not. These 99.9% pure silver 2018 Silver Eagles, recovered from U.S. mint-sealed boxes, concealed in a garage in Norway, are now available and can be yours. Your guaranteed mint condition American Eagle silver dollars, seized from the Norway hoard. Quantities are extremely limited. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. Plus, you'll receive a free bonus package, a $25 value, free with every order. Don't let this incredible opportunity slip away. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your American Silver Eagles from the seized Norway hoard before they're gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, presented by Capital One. Ooh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Children who grow up in poverty are part of a destructive cycle. At Child Fund International, we find this unacceptable. In 25 countries, we are vigorously fighting poverty and improving the lives of children and their families. Learn more at childfund.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. And again, if you're unclear on the concept of a talk radio show, I really don't know how to help you, because we're here to talk about the things that affect us here in the Borderland. And you're saying, I don't listen for the host. Like, okay, you can do that. I'm definitely not a cop or going to enforce ways to do this here, but don't try to pretend that you're being like kind-minded or anything. Yeah, we got trolls coming from all sides. Anyway, we'll be taking those phone calls a little bit later on the program, as we usually do. But in the meantime, a lot of other things going on that we're talking about got going on here in the Borderland. Of course, those immigration and border security situations still evolving and going on, even with those trucks and those aspects of it here. Angel Rueda commenting, those guys will try anything before clone delivery trucks. Clone Border Patrol vehicles were caught in Arizona. It's always been a capacity issue because, of course, what was part of the thing going on, was that last year? It feels like it was a lot longer than that, but I guess it was last summer, if I'm not mistaken, the situation with the abandoned cargo truck. So not even just a passenger or near closer to it, the trailer of an 18-wheeler that was abandoned. I believe it was near the San Antonio area, if I'm not mistaken, and the people in it left to die. Reprehensible in just a whole lot of ways. But specifically that, the reason that was done is because capacity, making it easier. Logistics are the king part of the whole process. So that's why you think you're going to continue to see these kind of things. Some other references coming from Anthony Scott Good at USBP Chief EPT, though again, the Twitter account for the Chief Patrol Agent for the El Paso sector for Border Patrol, tweeting out, among other things, about the new facility that's come online for processing here in El Paso. Full article title from our news partners at KFOX 14. CBP opens migrant processing facility in Northeast El Paso. About 2,500 capacity. Noted that it's a soft-sided facility. I think that's more on the nature. I mean, it's not just tents, but I think that's it was done in order, and the issues that were expected in the aftermath of Title 42. Let's just put it that way. But some of the other ones that he notes, including from last week, right before the date of the incident that we were talking about right now, with those, again, fake delivery vehicles, of 35 migrants located inside a box trailer. That happening in our area. So just crammed in there, not much regard. But again, windowless and higher capacity. That's always pretty much the focus. Because sure, you could expect to get a vehicle through. You could probably get one person through most of the time. Because, well, no system is completely free from the ability to defeat it. But it's getting through the large amounts of people that make this industry more worth it. Well, that's the real interest. That's where the money gets made, among other things. Not saying that they aren't going to make money off of even one person smuggling, but there's a reason that that's not the biggest part of this. Interesting question coming in. Mondo Moncada asking, where is Stephanie Seifert? Believe that she's actually with UMC now. She ended up taking a different position. So might have a conversation with her later on, but she's got a different boss that does most of the talking now, to my understanding. But no longer with KFOX 14. So if you've been wondering about that, that's what happened there. Thought we made an announcement at the time, but in case you missed it, that's what's going on there. And of course, in the midst of all this, even in our local situations, there are some other things going on nationally, as noted by article available from our news partners at KFOX 14. House Republicans launch investigation into Mayorkas over handling of immigration, border control. There's been more than a couple of instances in the past of there being some, shall we say, heated, or at the very least, a lot of back and forth type of congressional hearings that have been going on prior to this. But specifically now, there's a preliminary report out that is noted by, again, from our news partners at KFOX 14 and the national desk with them, a 55-page report on the changes to particularly Trump-era immigration policies, changed or revoked by the Biden administration and Mayorkas. And I don't think it's any particular surprise that there has been consternation or discussion, put very broadly, over Mayorkas. I mean, there's been people in our area, I believe it was now Speaker McCarthy, don't think he was at the time, if I'm remembering the timeline correctly, of asking for him to be either resign or, I don't think impeachment was the right term, but be investigated to the point of being removed from office. And yeah, the full document available from our news partners there, causes, costs, and consequences, why Secretary Mayorkas must be investigated for his border crisis. So a little bit of a change in the rhetoric, I guess, because oftentimes you hear it referred to, particularly by national Republicans, as Biden's border crisis. So pinning it on specifically the secretary for the Department of Homeland Security is an interesting one. And so, yeah, I guess impeachment is the correct term, or at least the term that is being used. But yeah, removal from the position has certainly been a focus that has been put forth by, again, national Republicans. Anyway, some other comments coming in, including Ana Rueda saying that there's a ton of contracting jobs out there. If anyone is interested, that place is huge, much larger than the previous center that was built close to the edge of Texas. Oh, referring there to the new CBP facility, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they've got an aerial view of it, both with our news partners and again on Anthony Scott Good's Twitter feed, which is a decent way to stay abreast of some of the conditions going on, including a tweet from over the weekend of the total amount of specific operations, including specifically Border Patrol agents interdicted 6 smuggling schemes over the weekend, totaling 62 migrants. Among those was an 18th Street gang member and 8 migrants rescued from a storm drain. And again, the June daily average at that point, 435 migrant encounters per day. So this is so much to say that there is still not an end to immigration, border security issues, or anything in and between those issues in our area. If anything, it continues, I would argue, pretty well apace, if at a lower intensity level, but definitely different from years past, which is still why a focus coming from the national level, I mean, the Dignity Act still is kind of percolating there in the background. Probably need to have a little bit more focus on that in the near enough future, because that's been one of the more, at least, potential. I don't know if I'm going to try to give odds to what legislation may or may not pass nationally, because whatever I think I know is going to happen there feels like it's been thrown out of the window more and more often lately. But the possibility of it is interesting, and probably one of the reasons we need to focus on that one a little bit more. But one other thing that's going on that you may be starting to notice, or will get a chance to notice on El Paso's roads, of the coming end of paper license plates. I, ever since became aware of the issues surrounding it, particularly, well, effectively fraud, and I know we've talked about this on our airwaves previously, that these paper plates that can be just printed out, I mean, sure, they have codes and other parts of it, but as has been noted by our news partners and other national and statewide reporting outlets, that House Bill 718 from the Texas legislature was proposed in response to concerns, quote, that the current use of temporary paper license tags for motor vehicles could facilitate fraud and other criminal activity. I'm not saying I know anyone who does this, but I think it's not the most difficult thing in the world for someone to have gone out and just keep printing out new ones. And I mean, the concerns have been shared by other El Pasoans, including concerns about these fraud. And so the change to this law, specifically, that will switch the temporary paper license plate provided at car dealerships with metal plates, which again kind of then raises the question of, okay, why not then just go with like the quicker turnaround on licenses if possible? But at the very least, it's something that you can't just print out, I guess. So look for that coming here. As with most Texas laws, I would fully expect this to take effect going into this one specifically July 1st, 2025. So not by any means immediately, but close enough. And they're actually following up our news partners at KFOX 14 to see how many cases have been investigated that involve fake license plates, and if this would have an impact in our city. So I'll be looking forward to that follow-up there myself. So that's one of the things coming, of course, out of the Texas legislature, but there's been a whole lot more going on, even if as the end of the regular session, this ongoing special session has gone on a little bit differently than may have been anticipated, particularly since one of the houses has been adjourned, or at least gavelled out for most of this time. So let's talk more about that and those compromises, the plans, what's being pushed, and even the tensions, vetoes, among other things that are being talked about here. So let's go ahead and take that next break. You are, of course, tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Again, Texas legislature need to focus on that one for a minute and getting closer to those phone calls and getting those on the line. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break. You're on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Fidel Moreno Mesa with your CBS 4 News Update. Police are asking others who may have victimized by a woman who was reported using excessive force on a child at a Las Cruces daycare to come forward. The Las Cruces Police Department news release was titled "Suspect Child Abuse, Call Police." The release is regarding suspected child abuser Angie Flores. Flores was arrested nearly 4 months after the video surfaced on social media in February. The footage showed Flores dragging a 3-year-old boy by the shirt at the Discovery Child Development Center on South Warner Street in Las Cruces. The boy could be heard crying as he is dragged away. On Tuesday, Las Cruces police stated the department was continuing to investigate allegations of child abuse by a former employee at a Las Cruces daycare. They asked for anyone with similar claims to call detectives. The former employee at the Discovery Child Development Center was arrested June 5th and charged with 2 felony counts of child abuse after investigators learned she used excessive force against a 3-year-old boy.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
A big crash on the I-10 eastbound before Executive Center Boulevard is slowing traffic. Multiple lanes blocked. Traffic's merging to the right. Look for 45-minute delays back to Trans Mountain. Police and medical at the scene of an injury accident northbound Dyer at McCombs, and traffic slow on Montana Avenue 2. The left lane is closed eastbound Montana at Geronimo, and it's 12-minute delays out to Zaragoza. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Hotter for our Thursday, a little gustier as well. We'll see breezy to windy conditions for tomorrow with mostly sunny skies. West winds about 15 to 25 plus miles per hour, high around 98 degrees. For your Friday, partly cloudy, breezy, west winds about 10 to 20 miles per hour, still pretty hot, high around 98. Looks like Saturday, partly cloudy, breezy with a high around 100 degrees. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Raid Light Trap.
The new Raid Essentials Light Trap uses light to attract, then trap flying insects like fruit flies and mosquitoes, turning your home into restricted airspace. For insecticide-free protection that's people and pet-friendly, get new Raid Essentials Light Trap.
Attention business owners. Was your company impacted during COVID? If you had W-2 employees during 2020 and 2021, you may be entitled for up to $26,000 per employee through the Employee Retention Credit Program. This is not alone. The IRS paid back billions already. We've helped thousands of businesses just like yours. So let us help you. At ERC Business Solutions, we make it simple. We do it all for you, so you won't have to worry about the complex application process. There's absolutely no risk. If you don't get paid, we don't get paid. Most businesses do qualify, even those with no decline in revenues or those that already got PPP. Discover how much you can claim. There's no cost or obligation. Call now, 800-200-2250. That's 800-200-2250. Get up to $26,000 per employee. Call 800-200-2250. 800-200-2250.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso. Weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And let's talk El Paso.
Lowe's knows the best deals for dad. That's why this Father's Day you can save up to 40% on select tools and accessories. Shop Father's Day deals today. Lowe's knows dads. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 6/18. Selection varies by location. This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
Stay tuned and stay informed with News Radio 690 KTSM, an iHeart radio station. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Those dropping those likes and reacts we appreciate, including James Holmes, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Guadalupe Giner, Amber Banda, Flaco Jimenez, and Arueda, and Ida Beza Gardner. Do appreciate it here. Comments coming in, including Buddy Vaya saying, we need immigration reform. My mother became a legal citizen in less than 6 months back in the 50s. Now it takes years. Yeah, that's a bit of a juxtaposition. I will agree with you there, certainly. But looks like we got a few trolls out in force here today, including those that, if you want to be outraged, there's not much I can do about you, but at least know what you're talking about, particularly what we've talked about on this show here, with, among other things, Eric McNabb saying that Polk promoting bigoted right-wing propaganda to dehumanize and demonize Christian Hispanic migrants. Talking about what these smugglers are doing that impact these people as well, but, go off. And also going on to say, check out Veronica Escobar's bipartisan immigration and border security bill. It is an incredible solution that should be able to be supported by anyone who is serious about addressing the issues at the border. Polk and the right-wing propagandists he has partnered with don't want you to know about it. So, okay, you don't think I talk about it enough, but here's the thing. I literally mentioned that act, Dignity Act of 2023, the one that I literally was just mentioning and saying that we need to have more interviews on at the end of the previous segment. So if you want to be wrong or, not actually know what you're talking about, go off, but loudly being wrong in public about it, that's certainly a choice that you could end up making there. And we also have talked about it in the past. So good luck with that. Anyway, getting back to those other things we're talking about, including what's going on in the Texas state legislature, actually, also things going on affecting Texas state parks, including an incident of eminent domain being used, which is interesting enough. Fairfield Lake State Park, which is over the eastern parts of Texas, in between Dallas and Austin, if I'm not mistaken. In any case, lots of stuff going on there. I mean, we're definitely in signing season. That's where, among other things, that law came from, the one that is going to change the paper plates no longer being available in a couple of years. It's not surprising that's going to take a little while to get online because, well, you're going to have a lot more material being needed. You can't just print those up, which not necessarily a bad thing, though. At a certain point, when are we just saying, here's your license plate and here's your more permanent license plate? In any case, going on in the Texas legislature, still having those kerfuffles over what is going to happen with property taxes. I mean, this immediate special session we are in right now called for that purpose, as well as border security issues. Them moving through to their own pace and track, and a couple of different tactics at play here. Of course, we've talked a good bit about the different personalities that are also getting involved with this, specifically that of really between the two main chambers, House Speaker Dade Phelan and, of course, Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who was also, of course, presiding over the Senate of Texas, making it clear that they agree in concept, I'd put it that way, but in implementation, pretty well far apart, with even some a little bit of press junkets being done by Patrick specifically on that aspect of it. So there has been things passed by the House, and the House's tactic on this one, interestingly enough, was to pass their bills, pass the couple that they were instructed to by the governor, because the governor does set the agenda and what can be considered during the special session. If there is room for hijacking of it, I guess would have to come through like maybe serious rioters added to bills, but hasn't really been in evidence, at the very least in the time I've been doing any major coverage of the Texas legislature. And of course, Greg Abbott and Dade Phelan, again, governor and House Speaker respectively, have been not exactly in lockstep, but at least closer allied than otherwise or not over this issue. A couple of article titles here I'll direct you towards out today from the Texas Tribune. Specifically, Governor Greg Abbott and House Speaker Dade Phelan joined forces on property taxes. It might help the push for school vouchers. But then also out today and updated within about the last hour, Governor Greg Abbott threatens string of vetoes if lawmakers can't agree on property tax cuts. So I guess we got the evidence of both the carrot and the stick being at least rhetorically employed here, among other things. And this, again, the personalities at play. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, noted by the Texas Tribune here, as calling the veto threat an affront to Texans and the legislative process. Specifically, the governor threatening these on some of the ones that have already been passed. I mean, we're again in signing season. A lot of those, I mean, you go over to the governor's Twitter feed if you are so inclined to do so, and you'll find practically daily, if not almost hourly. Okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but okay, within the last 52 minutes, from Governor Greg Abbott today, I signed new laws to help Texas combat the growing national fentanyl crisis. I believe that's been touched on to by some of our top of hour updates from our national news partners on that specific aspect of it, including pivotal measures will help save lives, prosecute fentanyl deaths as murder, distribute Narcan on college campuses, and continue efforts to educate young Texans about the danger of fentanyl. So yeah, these again, and the previous one to that was noting Flag Day. Happy Flag Day to everyone, by the way, and a little bit earlier today. So at least a couple times daily, the governor is putting out. I got to imagine that his wrist getting a little bit sore, and from the handshaking and all of these signings going on, including a few from yesterday. Anyway, all that going on. So that being the stick in this case, coming from Governor Greg Abbott saying, "Oh, I was going to go for this, but if y'all can't play nice, we aren't going to do this." I'm choosing to take on Elder as with the U.S. flag there. Again, the emoji doesn't show up totally correctly for Flag Day, as opposed to, that's how this works in the United States. Texas is definitely its own interesting entity in a whole lot of ways, including this being the end of the mad dash of legislation that is the regular special session. So, of course, even just from those article titles, a couple of takeaways to be had that, we got carrot and the stick at play, absolutely. But that be, I don't know, the buddy nature, if that might be going a little bit too far, me reading into it, slightly maybe not quite fan fiction territory at this point, though I'm sure it's rife for it within the Texas legislature, that the agreements that have existed between, again, in this case, the governor and the Speaker of the House may be getting towards, them just kind of running in lockstep. Again, that may be a little bit too far to say here, but there is still the possibility of compromise. Further article title from the Texas Tribune out yesterday on property tax impasse. Governor Abbott appears open to House-Senate compromise. So it's a possibility. We'll see what happens here. One of the other ones that, of course, we wanted to mention yesterday, again, noted by the Texas Tribune here, with $1.4 billion investment, Texas hopes to sprint to the front of the microchip manufacturer race. Of course, basically the Texas version of the CHIPS Act was one of the things that Governor Abbott has signed into law. In this case, appropriating, as noted by them again, $698.3 million this year, and an additional $666.4 million for the creation of advanced research and development centers at UT Austin and Texas A&M. So those are some of the things going on and some of the issues happening. So again, in the signing period, but with still hundreds to go, it's interesting that Governor Abbott is threatening, technically, strictly speaking, to say that stuff that may have been considered settled and may have even had a sigh of relief breathed by those legislators involved with it, saying that, oh no, we're going to drag that stuff back up. It's not a done deal. The veto is very much evident. And if I need to drag you all back by threatening your hard work, this is my paraphrasing, not something he's actually said, seems willing to do so. So, yeah, the year of the legislature continues on apace. Potential one, but my crystal ball is getting less cloudy by the moment, I feel like, on this particular issue. Because, again, noted by the Texas Tribune, just with the article title on the idea of school vouchers, we got at least one more special session in us, if not at least a couple more. Yeah, including Phelan writing in a tweet, quote, "With a special session on education matters all but certain, the select committee will begin working immediately to help develop a workable roadmap for legislation in the House," end quote. So, yeah, we ain't done with this yet, even if a different set of issues. Technically, it's a whole new ball game, but we'll have to keep our eye on that one there as well. So let's go ahead and take that next break and go ahead and open up those phone lines as we normally do at this point during the show. So if you want to call into the show, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. Human smugglers in the Borderland taking things to a new level. According to the Border Patrol, human smugglers were using 2 fake FedEx vans to transport undocumented immigrants. The bust happened Friday night in Santa Teresa. Local Border Patrol agents were working with Texas DPS to stop the fake FedEx vans after receiving tips about the smuggling operation. 26 migrants were found inside the vehicles, including those 2 fake FedEx vans that had a company logo identical to a legitimate van. 4 people were arrested, accused of human smuggling. Meantime, at the Isleta Port of Entry, federal agents seized 100 pounds of meth that were being smuggled inside a gas tank. The bust happened at the Isleta Port of Entry on Sunday. According to a news release, 99 individual bundles were found hidden inside of an SUV's fuel tank. Customs officers say they used an X-ray to detect the meth. The driver, a 47-year-old female, and the passenger, a 47-year-old male, are both U.S. citizens. This has been Stephen, your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A big crash on the I-10 eastbound before Executive Center Boulevard is slowing traffic. Multiple lanes blocked. Traffic's merging to the right. Look for 45-minute delays back to Trans Mountain. Police and medical at the scene of an injury accident northbound Dyer at McCombs, and traffic slow on Montana Avenue 2. The left lane is closed eastbound Montana at Geronimo, and it's 12-minute delays out to Zaragoza. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. During Staples Small Business Deal Days, you save 50% when you buy any combination of 5 or more boxes, mailers, and shipping tubes. Offer ends July 1st. Exclusions apply. Not valid in Concord, New Hampshire location. Prices may vary. Keep your business running right and save at Staples.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Thank you again, El Paso, for making us #1 year-to-date in new car sales. As a gesture of gratitude, we're offering huge savings on all new and certified pre-owned vehicles. More for your trade with no payments for 90 days.
Thank you, boss man. This week at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Get $10,000 off MSRP on remaining 2022 Grand Wagoneer SUVs. Get $6,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks. Get $1,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Wrangler Sport and Sahara. Plus super low 2.8% APR for 72 months on 2023 Ram 1500 Laramie and Lone Star trucks. Worried about your trade or credit? Don't sweat it. Our aggressive lenders will push to improve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. It's the season of huge savings at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, and I-10 at Sunland Park Drive, or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso strong. Includes factory rebate, discount plus GTNL. 2.9% APR is 15.50 per thousand finances. Select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
In this week's Marketers Report, Raja Manar, Chief Marketing and Communications Officer of MasterCard, talks about measurement.
Measuring Sonic and Sonic branding and Sonic initiatives across the board, the principles of measurement are the same, but the parameters that you measure are different. We measured, and what we find is our investment is paying for itself in oodles. We have been partnering with iHeart across multiple platforms, both for brand enhancement as well as for performance marketing. I think the cut through of the message and the recall of the brand are much higher. Also, that has been very beneficial for us to integrate some of our campaigns into the native content of iHeart. It has been a very nice partnership, and it continues to be very strong into the future.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, trusted influencers, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
What will you find at Macy's Backstage? Here's a hint. Great Father's Day gifts for $20 and under, like classic polos, grill accessories, grooming sets, and more. Perfect for every dad. Find the latest trends and new arrivals at a Macy's Backstage store near you.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of commentary coming in, a lot of other points, and of course, got those phone lines open right now. 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM is the number to call here. A lot of other, again, commentary, a lot of points there. So you have a line at least open and available right now if you want to give that a shot. Again, 915-544-5876. And listen, let me just put it this way. I've never met a troll I haven't been able to handle, because the point is there's not to be correct, but to be loud for the most part here. So anyway, let's get back to those phone lines now. We do have John on the west side here with us right now. John, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Sure thing.
I'm on the Bluetooth. Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah, hear you just fine. What's on your mind?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I'm surprised I got through, because a lot of times I listen to your show whenever I'm driving, but it just seems like many times it's the same person who calls in almost every day or every other day, or maybe it's just by luck, but it seems like the same individual calls in every day, and I keep hearing them spewing out all kinds of, political hate and discord and so forth. But anyway,
Fair enough.
now that I got through, one of the most disappointing things that I heard in the last couple of weeks was this abuse of the gas cards and these lunches, all this thousands and thousands of dollars paid out by these people for lunches for themselves and their family. It's just a total disregard of trust, of the trust. That's our money that these people are eating, and all the gas. They're not only putting gas in their own cars for their own personal journeys all over, but they're filling up their families' cars too. And my question is, if some of that money could be recovered, if those people could make restitution, maybe we could get some paint. It just seems like there's no lines in the streets over here anymore. Like on Sunland Park from Mesa going down toward I-10, it's like a free-for-all. There's no, it's really hard to follow the white line. They're just so faded. And then over on Riverbend, they did Riverbend. They completed it probably a year ago. It's all repaved, but there's no line. There's no white or yellow line whatsoever, all the way from on Riverbend from Sunset all the way to Frontera. It's a free-for-all. And, some people, they just come too far over because they don't realize they're crossing over. There's absolutely no line painted there. And it'd really be nice if some of that money could be recovered, if those people could make an honest restitution and say, look, I made a mistake. I did this. From now on, I'm going to buy my own lunch, and here's the money back. Let's buy some paint. My goodness. I've been to many cities in Texas and also other places, and I've never seen lines like this, like we have here. It's a free-for-all. There's just a big lack of white lines painted in the streets. And I just wanted to bring that up. I don't think it's ever been discussed before on the show. Mostly we talk about political and aliens and so forth, but it's amazing that some of these streets are just a free-for-all with no lines.
I was just on one in a similar type of situation, Northern Pass near the Westtown Marketplace. I was over there meeting some colleagues for lunch at one of the new restaurants over there. And that one, it's not even just not faded lines, but they are not painted. Like once you get up towards the intersection with Wrestler away from I-10, there start being some because like the turn lanes come into effect. But I mean, this used to be just, warehouse area, Westtown Marketplace, relatively new compared to the whole development of that area. But there's just there's not even a center dividing line in that case. So it's kind of okay, I guess we'll all just agree these cracks in the road that are more or less straight are the dividing lines in that case. So yeah, this happens unfortunately through a lot of different areas of the city. So to answer your specific question about restitution, fair is fair. From at least the gas card use that was previously being noted from 2022, sitting city rep Cassandra Hernandez did pay back, I believe, $6,500 or $6,700. Need to double check that exact number, but the amount that was being implicated as her being used at that point in time, though there have been now further investigations also, of course, into the P cards, either purchasing or procurement, depending on who you ask there, apparently. And there has been maybe more questions about use so far into 2023. And I mean, there's a lot of implications that come with it, but the one you brought up there right at the top, the trust impact of it is because, I mean, objectively, these amounts are a drop in the bucket when it comes to the entire city budget. I mean, again, nigh $1 billion. And so we're talking about and being very focused on the spending of thousands of dollars. And yet to the average conscience of the, average person in our area, it comes as a, wait, they're doing what with our money? And with this kind of the disregard that is at very least of concern, if not totally in evidence with it. I mean, just the attitude, I guess, the best way to put it there, definitely leads to people being okay, wait, what's going on here? And why aren't we looking at it? So, yeah, it absolutely needs to be further investigated, at the very least for the whole public confidence part of it, because, well, without that, we're going to be left in a dearth of confidence. And so, but then to the specific mechanism, I don't know if any restitution could then necessarily go directly towards that, but I will also agree that also needs to be done. There's a lot of priorities that the city can and should be able to handle. So let's hope that's certainly one of them.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. And I hope the city can get someone in the city can get some paint and paint some of these lines on Sunland Park and over on Riverbend. We really need to have lines and not just have a big free for all.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Well, appreciate the point in the call and your specific mention of that. Hope you have a good one there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I mean, okay, and also to one of the other things that caller said right off the top there, apparently, I mean, we don't do any particular call screening of, hey, we're not going to take that issue right now. May at certain points in the future, in which case we'll make that perfectly clear with our call policies. So the real dividing line between those who make it on air or not is tenacity. And let's just say that those that have a particular bone to pick seem to have a little bit more of that with them. I don't think it's a good or bad thing. It just kind of is what it is. So appreciate other people. We always encourage people to try and call in and get through, even if we do seem to have steam-powered radio has been some of the references to our systems in the past. So we still got the monkeys and wrenches and monkey wrenches at work here in all of those different ways. But yeah, lanes and different aspects of it are certainly important. And Bernadette Bandicle also noting that yet all these useless construction on every major boulevard in the city, it may seem like that. And also we have some delays that have been happening. We mentioned what is at least being noted in part, maybe not totally widespread, but causing issues with, say, some of the El Paso water repairs projects. So, yeah, and James Radcliffe noting accurately, didn't we have a few bonds that in the previous, where's the repair of the roads and where's the money going? Still in the, okay, my paraphrasing, not their exact phrasing, but evaluation phase. That was one of the major parts on the November ballot, if you all may remember. So there's been a lot more talk about the environmental implications, which was the vast minority of the money as part of those propositions A, B, and C. That one was C. I do believe roads was Prop A, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe B was parks, but let me double check that, make sure I'm not incorrect on that. In any case, we got to take that next break right now. We'll keep taking those phone calls. Do have lines available now, so if you want to call in on the show, the number to do so there is 915-544-5876. 915-544-KTSM. If you're on the line, stay there. Again, if you want to call in, 915-544-5876. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An earlier crash, I-10 eastbound near the Viscount exit is off to the left. All lanes are back open. Still a backup through downtown to Dallas Street with 10-minute delays. 54 southbound at the state line, an accident reported. An earlier crash, I-10 eastbound before Executive Center Boulevard's cleared. All lanes are back open. No delays. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Why do you change your car's air filter? Because when it's clogged, it doesn't work. The same is true of your nose, the body's air filter. It's great at trapping allergens, dust, and viruses, but unless you clean it regularly, they can stay trapped, making you miserable. I'm Martin Hogue, inventor of Navage, the world's only nose cleaner with powered suction. Navage pulls saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, helping to flush out allergens, mucus, and germs. Here's a testimonial from a verified purchaser and a big Navage fan. Quote, I've been suffering for 30 years with chronic sinus infections and allergies. I stumbled across Navage. The suction is amazing. It cleared my sinus cavities better than anything I've tried before. Unquote. Navage has over 120,000 reviews with a 4.6 star average written by people who use Navage to breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier. Wash your body's air filter with Navage at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
KTSM AM El Paso is News Radio 690, an iHeart radio station. The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour, and always online at KTSMradio.com. News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says inflation has moderated, but there's still a long way to go.
In light of how far we've come in tightening policy, today we decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged.
Most officials anticipate 2 more rate increases to come this year. The Fed had raised rates by a total of 5% since March 2022. The threat of severe weather is impacting millions of Americans today. In the Northeast, damaging wind gusts and thunderstorms are on the menu in New York City, up through areas of Connecticut, Providence, Rhode Island, and Boston. Further down south, forecasters are predicting drenching thunderstorms through Thursday from Texas to South Carolina. Marine veteran Daniel Penny is being indicted by a grand jury in connection to a deadly subway incident in New York, with charges being unsealed at a later date. Penny was initially arrested on manslaughter charges in connection to the death of Jordan Neely, who died after being put in a chokehold by Penny. Russian President Vladimir Putin is threatening to send more troops to Ukraine. Lisa Taylor reports.
Speaking on Tuesday, Putin said Ukraine suffered catastrophic losses in attacks on Russian-occupied parts of the country. Ukraine has just begun its high-stakes counteroffensive and has announced some small victories, which Russia's government has disputed. Putin also repeated his claims that a dam that collapsed 2 weeks ago was destroyed on purpose by Ukraine. The incident caused intense flooding and caused a humanitarian and agricultural crisis. Putin's threat to take over more territory would create a sanitary zone to stop Ukraine from attacking Russia. I'm Lisa Taylor.
More than a dozen music publishers are suing Twitter over alleged copyright infringement. The lawsuit filed in federal district court in Nashville Wednesday accuses the social media giant of copyright infringement on around 1,700 songs. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Demolition is underway in Davenport, Iowa, on the 6-story apartment building that partially collapsed last month, killing several people. Cooper Banks reports.
Crews are working carefully due to the building's location in downtown Davenport. The city says it's likely the building contains asbestos and other potentially hazardous material. Parts of the 116-year-old brick, steel, and concrete structure fell May 28th, killing 3 people. I'm Cooper Banks.
The top Senate Democrat is slamming a tax cut proposal moving through the Republican-led House. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said Republicans are pushing for tax giveaways for the wealthy and corporations while leaving ordinary Americans out to dry. He claimed the new proposal would increase the U.S. deficit by $1 trillion. Schumer said the hypocrisy is astounding as Republicans pushed for Washington to cut spending during debt ceiling negotiations. Today is Flag Day.
It's meant to celebrate the history and symbolism of the American flag. President Woodrow Wilson issued a proclamation establishing the tradition in 1916. President Truman made Flag Day a day of national observance officially in 1949. Presidents have celebrated ever since throughout the years. One of our most eloquent presidents, Ronald Reagan, read a passage about Old Glory on Flag Day, 1983.
I am whatever you make me, nothing more. I am your belief in yourself, your dream of what a people may become.
I'm Michael Kastner.
Looks like festival goers are already planning for next year's Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival in Indio. The 3-day extravaganza returns on April 12th to the 14th, 2024, and April 19th to the 21st. Tickets go on sale this Friday. Headliners for this past Coachella included Bad Bunny and Blackpink. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival is coming back to Las Vegas, September 22nd and 23rd at T-Mobile Arena.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
Capital One cardholders can grab their tickets right now before anyone else. Only available while pre-sale tickets last or until Friday, June 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Add a Capital One Access Pass to your pre-sale purchase to attend an exclusive private performance from Fall Out Boy. Only available during the cardholder pre-sale. Pre-sale tickets are limited and will go fast. So visit iHeartRadio.com/Capital One to buy now.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's is partnering with HDTV for the second season of Build It Forward, giving back to the communities they serve. Inspired by Lowe's Hometowns program, hosts Tania Nayaka and Shane Duffy are traveling to surprise community heroes with life-changing renovations. Watch Build It Forward all new Saturdays at 6, 5 Central.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the Borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Hip, knee, or back pain? See if Arch Supports can help you at the Good Feed store.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
Rover's Morning Glory.
It's The Woody Show.
It's Elliot in the Morning.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Woo!
All of the best free curated playlists.
It's everything that rocks.
All of the great podcasts for every interest.
This is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing content.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. Download the absolutely free iHeartRadio app now.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days at facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Those dropping those likes and reacts that we certainly do appreciate, including Ion Grimm, Bernadette Bandicol, Robbie Flores, James Holmes, Monica Cervantes, Guadalupe Hiner, Amber Banda, Flaco Jimenez, Angel Rueda, and Ida Beza Gardner, and with like others chiming in like Eric von Holstein Rathlow. I did pop it up a little bit earlier, but George Zavala there as well, Tom Gardner, and others. I mean, however you're able to tune in, chime in, add your 2 cents across those many different social media platforms. Well, that's the reason we have them, in order to also support those dual missions. And of course, Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Find them online at Sunland Park, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram.net, or just head right over there to 950 Crockett Street, basically right across I-10 from Sunland Park Mall itself. So, a lot of conversation going on those. Again, continuing to evolve immigration and border security issues and challenges. And again, new wrinkles. One of the ones that I do believe was mentioned by our news partners there at KFox 14, and it was further tweeted out by, again, the correct title of it here, the chief patrol agent for the border patrol here in our region, about the 100 pounds of meth that was found in a gas tank. It's a pretty interesting picture if you go and check out over that with Anthony Scott. Good. Also, one other note, one that I couldn't miss out on, is many things going on this day, but Bob Moore tweeted out at Bob Moore News that an earlier version of the obituary for Cormac McCarthy incorrectly referred to El Paso, where Mr. McCarthy moved in 1976. It's in Texas, not New Mexico. Yeah, that's the hell of a correction. And I did track down a little bit more information about the reference that was being made that I was questioning yesterday on that, about El Paso being not even just a place where it was thought of, but the direct inspiration for the setting and tone of the road, which, if anyone hasn't either read or seen it, I read the book, but I hear the movie is just about the same level of bleakness. It should be required reading for anyone either at or exiting adolescence, for why the world, why, if not very careful, the world could absolutely suck. But anyway, getting back to those phone lines now, of course, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Lines open and available now. We do have Ben on the east side with us here right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Over the last couple of days, I've been watching CNN, local news, MSNBC about the charges against Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And all they talk about is that. And so, in fairness, I just wanted to kind of and maybe inform other people about what else is going on about Joe Biden's corruption investigation. So
okay.
Have you heard about this?
Briefly, if you can, then. Mm.
The House members who read the 1023 documents in the SCIF the other day say that they proved that Joe Biden was involved with pay-to-play schemes of bribery and foreign powers, and that the 1023s were not classified and should be released to be read by all Americans.
Mm.
Did you hear about that?
I mean, it's been coming up, and just to make this clear, just for anyone that's screaming about this at home, yes, this is definitely getting to Friday territory. There's been more than a couple of references in the previous days here, so we'll take this for a brief second here. But yeah, the idea of having items declassified and put forth to there, I mean, that also comes up to a question that has been brought up about the presidential ability to declassify information. I'm still going to stand behind my stance on it here, that it is
it's got nothing to do with the
well, right.
Trump's declassified. I'm not talking about that.
Right.
I'm talking about 1023 documents that were read in the SCIF by the House members.
Right.
And it proved that Joe Biden was involved with pay-to-play schemes of bribery and with foreign powers, and the 1023s were not classified and should be released to be read by all Americans. And I understand this is a national thing, but, Raul goes on about, Trump all the time. So I thought it might be kind of, fair to maybe bring this up. And I don't think you've heard about that, have you?
Well, what I was getting to there is that as much as the question about declassification has also been coming up in this, and the implications of doing declassification of it, I mean, this being requested by the members that reviewed these documents, not being suggested by the president in this case, is the juxtaposition here. But I mean, as I've said before, it is absolutely the ability of a president to declassify documents, and yet the question would still remain on if it's proper to do so. Because, I mean, if a president was to say, hey, nuclear codes, I'm just going to release that, I think more than a couple of questions would come up. Sure, a extreme example, and one that I don't think any sane person would think could happen, but still just goes to at least conceptually prove that there are limits to this as well, and why full investigation into these circumstances, I mean, they can be very serious in nature, is certainly due.
Andrew, I didn't say anything about Trump. I mean, we know everything about Trump. All the allegations against him, all the charges and everything. But this has nothing to do with Trump. This has everything to do with Joe Biden.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And his, and the investigation that is going on in Comer's investigation in the House Oversight Committee, which has already uncovered that Biden and Biden family members were involved in creating 20 shell companies to launder money through 6 American banks from foreign nationals from China and Romania. Have you heard about any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I put it together as an offshoot of the Burisma investigation and parts like that, right?
Yes, and also Joe Biden's grandchildren and Hunter Biden's current wife were among 10 family members who got foreign cash over $10 million through an influence peddling scheme. What did the Biden family members do to earn that money?
And like I said, this is getting definitely into Friday territory, but there has been a lot of discussion up on this.
I'm just saying this is fair games, because Raul goes on and on about things, and for days I've heard nothing about anything about Biden's involvement in crimes, and everything that Trump has had thrown against him. I thought it might be a little bit fair to maybe open up the eyes to some of the people that have only seen what's on local news and CNN, MSNBC. And everything, that there is another investigation going on, and probably more serious.
And yeah, I get what you're coming with that. I mean, I know yesterday, specifically our news partners at KFOX 14, that one of the major parts on their website and of course on their coverage was about, the indictment hearing, the reading of the charges, those kind of things. So certainly understand your perspective on that, even if we'll probably get into that a lot more on Friday.
Okay. Anyway, I'm just trying to be fair about this.
Yeah,
we don't have to listen to Raul and everybody go on about how evil Trump is. Let's talk about how really disgustingly criminal that Biden is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, again, fair enough here. So
thank you. Stay well, stay safe. God bless. And let's go, Brandon.
That's it. Well, thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it. Again, what we do is during the week getting into the local stuff because there's plenty of it going on, even if there are major overarching national things going on. Once they particularly come down to start affecting the local level, like, discussion on bills is one thing, but when they actually start getting passed and we start seeing the impacts here, that's another major part of it. So let's go ahead and take that next break right now. But coming out of this break, we got a lot more that we will certainly get to, including, of course, more of y'all's comments and calls, more coming in over on the social media. But if you want to call in, the number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Right in the spaghetti bowl on the 54 Patriot northbound of the I-10. Road debris is blocking the right lane. That big delay on the I-10 eastbound is from an earlier accident at Viscount, which has cleared on I-10 eastbound at Viscount. All lanes are back open, but it's still a 15-minute delay eastbound from Dallas over to Viscount. And in the Upper Valley I-10 eastbound at Las Muchas Drive, a semi is blocking the entrance ramp. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's is partnering with HDTV for the second season of Build It Forward, giving back to the community. Say sir, inspired by Lowe's Hometowns program, hosts Tania Nayaka and Shane Duffy are traveling to surprise community heroes with life-changing renovations. Watch Build It Forward all new Saturdays at 6, 5 Central.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Thank you again, El Paso, for making us #1 year-to-date in new car sales. As a gesture of gratitude, we're offering huge savings on all new and certified pre-owned vehicles. More for your trade with no payments for 90 days.
Thank you, boss man. This week at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Get $10,000 off MSRP on remaining 2022 Grand Wagoneer SUVs. Get $6,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks. Get $1,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Wrangler Sport and Sahara. Plus super low 2.8% APR for 72 months on 2023 Ram 1500 Laramie and Lone Star trucks. Worried about your trade or credit? Don't sweat it. Our aggressive lenders will push to improve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. It's the season of huge savings at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, and I-10 at Sunland Park Drive, or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso strong. Includes factory rebate dealer discount plus GTNL. 2.9% APR is 15 per thousand finance. Select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
With an open channel,
I guess just try to keep channels open.
we welcome open-minded individuals
I try to keep an open mind to all issues.
with open arms
I think we need to always have our eyes open.
for open conversation. And when you open the iHeartRadio app, you open a whole new world. Wherever you are.
What should America do about immigration crisis?
I guess open the borders, but at the same time, check everyone that's coming in.
Open the gates.
A free download in the App Store or at ktsmradio.com.
Turn your home into restricted airspace. Tell incoming flights you want them diverted. The new Raid Essentials Light Trap plugs into the wall and uses light to attract, then trap flying insects like fruit flies and mosquitoes. Its 24/7 continuous attraction provides insecticide-free protection that's people and pet friendly. Consider air service interrupted. New Raid Essentials Light Trap. Insecticide-free protection.
Dazzling decal on Daisy's Donuts window. Bold banner at Barry's Barbershop. Prominent poster at Penny's on Park Place.
This is your sign. Well, signs. To try Staples and see the difference. Get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more.
From Staples, and I couldn't miss it.
N617. Visit staplesconnect.com/printbig for details.
Most of the time, traffic is pretty good. But there are times when traffic can be pretty bad. No, I mean like really bad. Almost, but more like an asteroid's gonna hit the city and everyone's trying to get out of town at once and nobody's car is moving and people are running down the highway clutching their kids and whatever belongings they can grab. Yep, now you got it. It's times like these you need your severe traffic station. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an extreme flash flood.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Talk to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today, I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages that we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one, but also find us under similar either other Facebook pages, also YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk is where you can find us here. And interesting conversation going on there, particularly based on the last call. Again, Friday is always coming, folks, and we're definitely doing this Friday full force, as is per usual, free-for-all Friday, just in case anyone's confused about what I'm referring to there. Longtime listeners, of course, know, but for anyone new, free-for-all Friday is when we take on all of those subjects, including the ones that, I mean, sure, there's the argument that often has been made about, well, it will affect us here, presidencies, etc. I'm more inclined to consider, like, sitting presidents than other things, because their immediate policies and even day-to-day decisions can certainly have other effects here. But when we get into those lack of like immediate aspect of it, well, this could happen. Like, sure, there's a lot of international stuff that could eventually end up seriously affecting us here. Like, I pay a lot of attention also to progression of, say, the war in Ukraine, the posturing that's going in the South China Sea, and the many issues going on that, the restructuring of American forces towards that. And yet we talk about the local stuff during the week, just in case that's unclear. In any case, if you want to get on that phone line, of course, that number to do so, and lines are available. Don't lie about that. Let you know when it happens. 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Marco in Central on the line with us here right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
Hey, how's it going, Andrew?
Turn right there. What's on your mind?
Some people are just a little sensitive, but that's okay. That's okay.
Happens.
So what I kind of want to talk about today is the end.
Okay.
And I always like to take the broad scope of things and bring it into the local. Why do I say the end? Well, first off, let me say thank you to the Democrat Party. I want to thank them for bringing us again in history to this point where we as Americans have to choose. The first time, it was the Emancipation Proclamation, because the Peace Democrats just didn't want to go and let slavery go by the West Side into the ash heaps of history. And so now they've brought us to this point again. What do I mean? Well, they've managed to literally make Donald Trump into Nelson Mandela. And now we have a political prisoner in America whose main adversary is the president. And to see the media yesterday, and I know you're part of the media, Andrew, but I don't qualify you like that. I've always thought AM radio brings such a benefit because people can express their mind. But the media, the national media, the people that create the narrative, they were in such glee and disgust at how people were reacting, and they could not believe how people were on the side of Donald Trump because people just see what it is. It's political in nature. I mean, the fact that they don't even mention the Presidential Act in any of the charging case, it tells you that's political. That's not me saying that, by the way. That's Vivek Ramaswamy, who's intelligent as hell, telling the nation, hey, you know what? This is political in nature. What are we doing here, guys? And so now we've been brought again to the brink by the Democrats. And now we're at a crossroads in America. So what are we to do now? Now we're being challenged in our schools that a man can be a woman. They're teaching our kids about sexuality instead of teaching them about reading, writing, and arithmetic. And then we're upset as a society when we have a degradation of mental health. And all of a sudden we have these major cases of people just breaking down and going out on social, how do I want to say this? On like social massacres for their personal agendas. So you have a trans activist, you have a so-called white supremacist, and it all just seems so convenient, so absurd. And so we're sitting here as Americans at the crossroads where all of these things are just hitting you at one time. And then to top that all off, our national debt is at its highest, our economy can crash, and we're trying to wage war with Russia, who's a nuclear power. And so I want to say this to everybody that's local here. And I represent a district. I'm a conservative, but I also represent District 70. I'm a Republican. And so I want to tell everybody, if you feel that there's no voice for you, that you can't say anything, first off, let me just say this. Thank you, Andrew. You give us the best format to come out and state what we're trying to say. And like your last caller, he's like, look what's going on with Biden. Look at this. I felt so bad for him because I want to be like, look, brother, we all understand that this administration is the most corrupt administration in history. But as long as you have the media working against you, and they're not even going to give you a fair shake, and they're trying to make Donald Trump into Saddam Hussein, I mean, well, what can you do? You are at an impasse in society. And there are people that truly see reality in two different ways. So to all my Muslim brothers out there, to all my Christian brothers, to all my Catholic brothers, if you are tired and you're a Democrat, me, Marco Contreras, I'm extending a hand. I want you to know there are people that think like you. We're not all off the rails. And we all don't want these depravities brought onto our children, for Pete's sake. And so I don't know what the answer to society's woes is right now, but I can tell you this. If we separate ourselves from each other, then we're truly doomed to fail.
To go back to an older line, may not be remembering the total right speaker of it, but we have to hang together or we will all hang separately. I want to say that was Franklin, but just because he was known for pithy things like that. But in any case, I mean, I definitely do agree with you on the idea that people being involved with things. If you have issues, I mean, particularly locally, as we try to focus on as much as possible, but I appreciate you bringing at least home to the idea of local involvement with this. There's an interview that we have aired a couple of times over the years because I still find it incredibly relevant. It was an activist that I spoke with at the, I think it was the 2020 or the 2021 CPAC in Dallas, one of the first ones they held there, talking about how they end up recruiting, going into and doing things in local communities. And one of the things that has always stuck with me is that if a local party, chapter, discourse in general is only focused on the big national issues without looking into what they end up focusing on is, okay, where is the, food sources? Do we have good groceries? Is it available in your area? What about financial services? Are they banks, or is it only like payday lenders? Those type of issues, because if you're not focusing at least a little bit and having that involvement at the local level, if it ends up being a carbon copy of the national issues, something is probably getting lost. Because sure, there's a ton of talk about the national issues. That's pretty much the rest of the day on this station and on many others. I mean, any of the, national and 24-hour news stations, that's what they go into. They may delve into some like specific local issues if they rise to enough prominence, but otherwise it's the national stuff. And not to say that therefore there shouldn't be any national stuff talk. We do Fridays the way we do for very specific reasons, also as a pressure relief valve for the rest of the week. But if we're not focusing on those local aspects, and so the organization part of it that you're referring to there and your involvement as I believe you said a Republican Party precinct chair, is that right?
That's correct, brother.
So that level of involvement is kind of critical, because also here's the thing about only national talk. It can feel ephemeral. It can feel like, well, what can I do about that? And
that's right.
There's an argument to be made that's also by design. I'm not going to get into that much here, but the reason that we do what we do on this program and try to as much as possible, I mean, there's sometimes, overriding things nationally, like we ended up doing the live coverage when January 6th was going on, because there was nothing else we were going to talk about that was going to be more significant than that on that day. And so that certainly can happen, and we have kowtowed to that in the past when we have had to. But if we're not talking about the local issues, particularly the ones that are within our grasp, within our reach, there was this recent election, the most contentious one, the one for EPISD District Number 6, the contest between Jacqueline Martinez and Valerie Ganelon-Beals, that came down to about 70 votes. That could be the amount of people that would show up when I went to the polling place on election day. There ended up being, by the time I was there in the previous hour, there had been 54 people voting so far. And so that could have almost been the difference in that election. So that's why, I mean, people getting involved again, it can feel real like, what can I do? But doing anything is definitely better than doing nothing when it comes to, if people are passionate about this or any other issues, getting involved, because that's frankly the only way we end up getting through any of this.
I absolutely agree, brother. And let me say one more thing. If we, as a party, as just a movement of conservatives, and screw that, just humanity, people, if we allow, look, I'm going to state this, and I want everybody to really think about this. Our society, only in America right now, and maybe Canada, we're demanding that we recognize that a man, a biological man, be a woman. And that is no different, literally, than O'Brien torturing Winston and telling him, I don't want you to tell me that 2 + 2 = 4. I want you to believe that 2 + 2 = 5. I want you to believe it. And that is why I'm reaching out, because I don't want people to feel disaffected and become black-pilled. That's the last thing we need in society, disaffected individuals that have given up. I'd rather try to red pill people or white pill people and let them know it's always dark before the dawn. And the fact that Donald Trump right now is standing up and fighting through this, I'm not saying put all your nuts and put all your hopes and dreams in this basket, but it should hearten you that people do not give up in this world still, and they're willing to fight. And so that's what I want El Pasoans to know. There are members of your community that are 100% willing to fight by your side, whether you be Muslim, Christian, Catholic, gay. We are ready as a community, as an organization, to serve you and listen to you, because you will be heard.
Well, fair enough. Well, thank for the point in the call and your passion on the subjects here, even if the finer points are subject to disagreement and further discussion here. At least, again, people being involved, that's kind of the reason I end up talking about like local voting rates and the dismal nature of them a lot, because it's symptomatic of the larger issues that we end up having in this community with the thick apathy reigning king, which is not a good thing.
That's right, Andrew. Much love, and thank you very much, brother.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. You have a good one there. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we got more calls on the line. If you want to get on the line, of course, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. Human smugglers in the Borderland taking things to a new level. According to the Border Patrol, human smugglers were using 2 fake FedEx vans to transport undocumented immigrants. The bust happened Friday night in Santa Teresa. Local Border Patrol agents were working with Texas DPS to stop the fake FedEx vans after receiving tips about the smuggling operation. 26 migrants were found inside the vehicles, including those 2 fake FedEx vans that had a company logo identical to a legitimate van. 4 people were arrested, accused of human smuggling. Meantime, at the Isleta Port of Entry, federal agents seized 100 pounds of meth that were being smuggled inside a gas tank. The bust happened at the Isleta Port of Entry on Sunday. According to a news release, 99 individual bundles were found hidden inside of an SUV's fuel tank. Customs officers say they used an X-ray to detect the meth. The driver, a 47-year-old female, and the passenger, a 47-year-old male, are both U.S. citizens. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Eastbound of the I-10 CD lanes at Sunland Park, a vehicle is on fire, blocking the right lane. Expect delays there. In the lower valley, an accident reported that's blocking the right lane. There's a backup to Padres exit. Slow traffic on the I-10 eastbound from Piedras downtown over to McRae. It's a 15-minute delay. And a crash reported in Zaragoza at Tierra Este. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Hotter for our Thursday, a little gustier as well. We'll see breezy to windy conditions for tomorrow with mostly sunny skies. West winds about 15 to 25 plus miles per hour, high around 98 degrees. For your Friday, partly cloudy, breezy, west winds about 10 to 20 miles per hour. Still pretty hot, high around 98. Looks like Saturday, partly cloudy, breezy with a high around 100 degrees. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's is partnering with HDTV for the second season of Build It Forward, giving back to the communities they serve. Inspired by Lowe's Hometowns program, hosts Tania Nayaka and Shane Duffy are traveling to surprise community heroes with life-changing renovations. Watch Build It Forward all new Saturdays at 6, 5 Central.
Why do you change your car's air filter? Because when it's clogged, it doesn't work. The same is true of your nose, the body's air filter. It's great at trapping allergens, dust, and viruses, but unless you clean it regularly, they can stay trapped, making you miserable. I'm Martin Hogue, inventor of Navage, the world's only nose cleaner with powered suction. Navage pulls saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, helping to flush out allergens, mucus, and germs. Here's a testimonial from a verified purchaser and a big Navage fan. Quote, I've been suffering for 30 years with chronic sinus infections and allergies. I stumbled across Navage. The suction is amazing. It cleared my sinus cavities better than anything I've tried before. Unquote. Navage has over 120,000 reviews with a 4.6-star average written by people who use Navage to breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier. Wash your body's air filter with Navage at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Lowe's is partnering with HDTV for the second season of Build It Forward, giving back to the communities they serve. Inspired by Lowe's Hometowns program, hosts Tania Nayaka and Shane Duffy are traveling to surprise community heroes with life-changing renovations. Watch Build It Forward all new Saturdays at 6, 5 Central. This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone?
Do flowers have best friends?
I don't know. Hey, look.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments going there, a lot of people tuning in, chiming in, adding their own 2 cents, of course, along with all of that, including, of course, Ion Graham, Bernadette Bandicol, Robbie Flores, James Holmes, Monica Cervantes, Guadalupe Hiner, Amber Banda, Flaco Jimenez, Angel Rueda, and Ida Beza Gardner. some of those comments here. Specifically, Ion Graham saying, apathy rules. Absolutely something that is unfortunate in the extreme, but also, not strictly border issues sometimes, but, well, let's just say that there is a lot of stuff that doesn't neatly fit into, unfortunately, local category, but we try to keep it local as much as possible because, again, if we're not talking about it and just going along with it often ends up coming way down too much to parroting what has already been said about the major national issues, which is why we always try to break it down and bring it to the local level and about what is going on here and what affects us here. One of the things, of course, going on statewide, which is another focus that we try to have because the Texas legislature and their progression here, the idea of there maybe not being a consequence or full outcome of this Texas legislative session is significant. Tweeted out by the office of Lieutenant Governor a little bit before we got on air today. Dan Patrick putting this out, saying that in a ploy to apparently get his way, Governor Abbott suggests he is threatening to destroy the work of the entire 88th legislative session, hundreds of thousands of hours by lawmakers doing the work the people sent us to do, referring there to the personality conflicts that continue to play as a part of that, and the really coming down to the differences in the plans for the tax relief. And that's a part of it is here as well. What Lieutenant Governor goes on to say in the statement is, quote, the governor's suggested threat today to veto a large number of Senate bills is an affront to the legislative process and people of Texas. He has now made his position clear. He doesn't want homeowners to get the $100,000 homestead exemption. That is the hallmark of the Senate plan. The Senate plan save homeowners $1,200 to $1,450 a year every year compared to the House plan he supports, which only gives homeowners a tax cut of $740 a year. Homeowners want the exemption and the biggest tax cut possible and will not abandon 5.7 million average Texas homeowners getting their $100,000 homestead exemption, #TexasLedge. So this is one of those things that gets a little bit closer to home because, of course, it's happening right in our state. And we do have local state legislators who we have been talking to about this. Again, still working to get on some more of our local delegation, even if there are other issues like the impending, impeachment, but pending trial on the basis of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, which has been its own kerfuffle this whole time. So the fact that we still have these personalities at play is one of the reasons we end up focusing on these among many other issues. But also there's more than we ever get to in a week. Another reason that we end up having Friday. I know I keep referencing that one today, but it's just part of the conversation that we end up having here. But so that tweet coming out from, again, the office of Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. So not his necessary personal one, but also saying that he was the compromises are sparse and few and far between. It does feel like tweeting out earlier this week, again from the same account at LTGOVTX. Today, Governor Abbott said he'll sign a property tax relief bill that both the House and Senate agree on. He told me last week if he can get it done in this first special session, he will not call for another special in July. It's time for the House to come back to work. Meanwhile, the Senate continues to work. The Senate passed a 10 commandment and school prayer bill out of committee today. I'm hopeful the Gov will put these bills on a future call, referring to the governor there, I do believe. So interesting point about it, saying that there will not be another special session in July, because as much as there's probably going to be more special sessions, not doing it immediately, allowing actually some time out of here, because another thing that is being brought up about are, as was referenced by a previous caller to try and bring back a little bit further home on the nature of our city council members. It is still, even with the pay rates that have now been set and been tied to the median income for the basically average El Paso household, that they are effectively a part-time city council. Whether or not that's appropriate or not is another question, but most of them are still required to maintain other businesses, or many have in the past. Particularly when it comes to the state legislator, that is absolutely the case. And so not keeping them tied up in Austin all the time, because unless there's a level of independent wealth, that is the requirement. That was basically has to be done in order for them to be able to continue to make it, to survive, arguably. Okay, that might be a little bit dramatic, but still, that is the case, and that is the situation for the Texas legislature. So there being these multiple sessions, as much as it is something that we absolutely end up talking about and focusing on, it is not necessarily just a, hey, this can do it, there'll be no consequences. Puts a lot of pressure, frankly, on the individual representatives and senators, even as we are, okay, I may have forgot to mention this in the previous part of it, even if we do have no more or not another special session in July anyway, still the implications a further one, because all the governor's priorities, including even if we get through this special session with all the goals achieved, which depending on the day and practically by the minute seems like it may or may not end up happening, still got to come back for the impeachment trial happening within the Senate, of course, here. And again, notably, there is local involvement with that as well, with, again, Democratic State Rep Joe Moody, one of the House managers of it, though there has also been talk about there being different firms retained in order to actually end up doing it here. So we got a lot still coming for this legislative session, though I don't believe that will happen till, if I'm not mistaken, August or September. In any case, yeah, there's we're not going to be done talking about the Texas legislature and the impact we're definitely going to be seeing in our region from it here anytime soon. But again, we do take those phone calls here. We've had a couple come on and drop off before I could even hit the button here. So we do have a call on the line here right now. And again, just as a reminder, you might get popped up live if you call in the midst of a segment. So just be Johnny on the spot. We do have a caller on line one with us right now. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Hello there. This is Eric. Before getting to local issues, I just wanted to quickly point out that, Ben and Marco repeated some nonsense they heard from conservative talk radio and Sean Hannity. They've been talking about these things all day. And, like Jim Jordan was on there, it's important to realize that Jim Jordan told Mike Pence he should break the law and not count certain state electors in order to steal the 2020 election for Trump. And on January 2nd, Jim Jordan led a call with Trump and other members of Congress to delay the certification of election results to steal the election. And Jim Jordan texted Trump's chief of staff a strategy to steal the election. And Jim Jordan spoke to Trump numerous times on January 6th and discussed the pardon after it happened. And it's really important to realize that Jim Jordan's a traitor to the country, like most conservatives. And, Sean Hannity and people on this station see people like Ben and Marco, these big lies that end up radicalizing them. Like Marco said, that Trump is like Nelson Mandela. You know how ridiculous that is? And I heard that exact phrase from Newt Gingrich yesterday on Sean Hannity. And Newt Gingrich said that in pure, with no irony, not joking. He was promoting the idea that Trump is like Nelson Mandela. That like, I know that's lost, the ridiculousness of that is like lost on most conservatives, but that's truly ridiculous. And that's how people are being deceived and manipulated, the ones who listen to this station. And to Ben's point about that 1023, Republicans whip that nonsense out. Just because Trump was indicted, the grounds, if you were to read what the Comer and Republicans who have seen it, like Grassley, are saying that document says, it says that a person, a high-level person, has audio recordings saying these things. Not that the FBI has recordings of these things, and all of these things are unverified, but it has the exact same legitimacy as all the unverified claims in Christopher Steele's dossier. It's just unverified stuff that Republicans are referencing to distract from Trump's crimes that he was arrested for yesterday. And I would really encourage people, again, to read that indictment themselves to see how they're being misinformed about these serious crimes against the country by everyone on this station, and to be distracted by Republicans in powerful office. Republicans are sweeping under the rug, these serious crimes. And it should be mentioned that 1023 form was first brought to the attention of the public through a Marjorie Taylor Greene the day that that Trump was indicted, so that it could be said that, this indictment of Trump was all just to cover up this secret fact about Burisma and Joe Biden. And Republicans have investigated Burisma and Hunter Biden and Joe Biden in the Senate. They had an official investigation back in 2020 that cleared them of all wrongdoing, but right-wing media is still poisoning the minds of their listeners and Republicans to do this whataboutism with just complete lies. And the end result of all of this is, like if you look at Jim Jordan's weaponization of the federal government committee, that's just pure smokes and mirrors and lies. But it's being done and legitimized in the minds of conservatives. It says, liberals did this when they were in power. Right-wing media said all these lies about what liberals were doing in regards to investigations into Trump's crimes, like his collusion with Russia.
Okay, I get that you're responding to what the previous guy said, and yet whataboutism is generally not a good thing because two things can be bad at once, but if you're not actually dealing with the initial part of it, it ends up being a distracting tactic. But you said you'd want to talk about something locally as I keep getting the comments coming on about us not focusing on here today. You said you had something locally specific, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, I might as well go point out, the lies that you told yesterday and, as part of your lobbying efforts against the UNC bond. You said that it's an opinion that that bond would save lives when that bond would have created a cancer treatment center for people who don't have insurance, both child and adult, and people with insurance. A one of a kind comprehensive cancer research center that doesn't exist in El Paso. And, believe it or not, I know in your right-wing bubble, you don't hear, you're kept uninformed about people die because they don't have access to healthcare. That's a fact. Like poor people die because they don't have healthcare. Children die because they don't have healthcare. These are facts. Cancer treatment and treatment provided by these medical institutions saves lives. So when you increase the services provided to people who are uninsured and the poor, life-saving treatment, you are saving lives. That's not an opinion. When you increase access to life-saving healthcare that people would not otherwise get, they survive. They live.
Eric, to make something perfectly clear here, did not disagree with you on the idea that having more medical facilities, I've often talked about, and we've had discussions on with different local entities about there being a lack of health care, not even just of coverage, insurance being talked about there, but of facilities. I mean, as part of the brain drain, probably one of the most important things that has come along with the establishment of the Medical Center of the Americas, the Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center El Paso, and the various schools under it, because there's been a lack of that in our area. So at a certain point, it's not even just can people afford it, but does it even exist here? Hopefully we're moving beyond that part of it, but also on the lobbying against it, this action already happened. You do get that right. So it was passed by the county commissioners court for the $55 million as a revenue bond because it's based on the performance of the institution on its own here. So I would certainly hope that it would go towards end up actually helping save the lives of it here. But I was referring more to your overall statement that those that oppose bonds like these want people to die because that's a non-falsifiable belief. Did that come through to you at all?
I never said that. First off, I said that you making up lies about the UNC bond to law, that if this bond doesn't pass, that means children and people in El Paso are going to die. That is a fact, because when you're provided life-saving health care, you survive. If you don't get it, you die. So if that bond not passing is going to cause children in El Pasoans to die.
Again, Eric, you get that it did pass, right? Like it has happened already?
It's going to come up for a referendum vote down the road. So you're continuing to promote these lies about what it does and doesn't do.
Okay, so I don't know that because that's not how the progression goes. What the county judge talked about is that he's going to be concerned about any refinancing for if some reason it doesn't end up being a successful endeavor to make sure that it would come up that way. But again, no indication of that this time. It's going through, and I'm not aware of any referendum or similar type of petition efforts going on this time. So again, county commissioners passed this already, just to make sure we're on the same page here.
I'm referring to the bond that you were lobbying against with the Libre initiative back the $350 million bond, Paul. That one, the parts of that is going to be going down for a referendum vote at some point, and you know this. That's why you continue to misinform your listeners that parts of it are going to, not save lives. That's what you're telling them.
Yeah, I am not telling them that because, again, I would agree with you in general that having more medical services ends up being a better thing for our community. It's been a problem in previous years. The way we go about it, though, can also be an important question because, again, putting up a goal saying we need to achieve this no matter what here, the way is it actually going to be functional towards that? Is it going to help achieve that goal or not? Or are there better ways to go about it? Or reasonable questions to ask? But if you take as anything as not rubber stamping it as therefore is opposing it, I think you need to broaden your perspective and your understanding of discussions and other things there. So appreciate at least getting to the local aspects of it here. We're not going to solve this today, certainly, and we're just about out of time here for this program. And in fact, we're not going to be able to take that last break right now. We're just going to have to end it there for today. So appreciate the point in the call for what it's worth and coming around to the local part of it and switching which focuses you're talking about there. But in the meantime, we're going to have to leave it there for today because we're out of time here for this program. So some of the things we're working on for you, still more focus on some of, again, trying to get on our state legislators, even if that's a whole kind of limbo situation. We'll keep it clear what we're able to get to there. And we got some other interviews we're working on for you, including about some of the economic situations and a whole lot more. But out of time here for this show, I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. We'll do it again tomorrow as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And until next time, I want you all to stay safe out there, look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. Human smugglers in the Borderland taking things to a new level. According to the Border Patrol, human smugglers were using 2 fake FedEx vans to transport undocumented immigrants. The bust happened Friday night in Santa Teresa. Local Border Patrol agents were working with Texas DPS to stop the fake FedEx vans after receiving tips about the smuggling operation. 26 migrants.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
In the Lower Valley northbound on the loop at Alameda, a stalled vehicle is blocking the right lane, causing a backup to Padres. I-10 eastbound still got 12-minute delays from Piedras to McRae. On the I-10 eastbound, the CD lanes at Sunland Park, an earlier car fire is out. All lanes are back open. And a vehicle is blocking the right turn-only lane on Gateway North at Trans Mountain. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's is partnering with HDTV for the second season of Build It Forward, giving back to the communities they serve. Inspired by Lowe's Hometowns program, hosts Tania Nayaka and Shane Duffy are traveling to surprise community heroes with life-changing renovations. Watch Build It Forward all new Saturdays at 6, 5 Central.
Okay, so we have the car payment, the rent, utilities,
and the repair bill.
What should we do?
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, we could have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact